So I thought it's a good time to talk about hockey because obviously with all the excitement in the Olympics and the great game that we had today, we won the silver on that game from on the ladies' side. So that was great. Contrary to somebody who were sad because we lost the gold, I think we won a silver. So that's the way to look at it. And in a couple of days, we have another opportunity to maybe watch hockey again at the Olympic, which is really uh, top-notch hockey. So may recognize some of those players. I've been playing hockey for a long time, and some of them are already on stamps from Canada. So tonight, yeah, I'm going to talk about autograph hockey stamps. Like there's plenty of hockey stamps and various hockey stamps in Canada, but my focus will be on those that have autograph and that were authorized by Canada Post for various programs. So uh, I will start with the 2013-2017 series because that was the first part that I developed. Is that in 2013, Canada Post announced a new series of hockey stamps in collaboration with the National Hockey League, the Hockey Hall of Fame, and Upper Deck as a promoter of that to celebrate hockey and Canada famous player. Starting in 2014, the series started to introduce a series of uh, mini souvenir sheets containing one stamp per sheet. They were in large format, so don't really fit an envelope, and each were featuring one of the NHL star from the original six. For those who are not familiar with that, the original six were the Montreal Canadiens, the Toronto Maple Leafs, Chicago Blackhawks, Detroit. Um, oh, the Red Wings, the Detroit Red Wings, New York, and Chicago. Those stamps, the first series, they were high value stamps. They were the international rate of $2.50. So that was quite expensive. Those were printed by Low Martin on TRC paper with a GT4 marking and serpentine cut, like on the booklet, with a simulated perforation of 13.5 by 13.3. And this series continued till 2017. So it's a series that lasts with the sheet they lasted the 4 years. The first year they did that. They were not the sheet lead, but the actual stamps, like the mini sheets with containing all the six stamps were issued, but there was no large souvenir sheet. And on that occasion in 2013 and 2014, Canada Post issued limited edition of set for collector with special cards of Wayne Gretzky and cards of Bobby Orr. Those are quite elusive because they mostly stay into the pack that people have. I still have my series of unopened pack, so I assume the card is there. But one day I'm going to open them and they're going to be able to show those elusive cards of Gretzky and Bobby Orr from 2013 and 2014. They're still on the shelf. Next is that here is actually a picture of the original six. So they were Red Kelly, Tim Horton, Doug Harvey, Pierre Pilote, Bobby Orr, and Harry Howell. And they came into a pack of six. So it was quite expensive to purchase. Like you have to put $15 to buy a pack of six. They were not available individually. So that was quite expensive, and they're also hard to find in use in actual valid mail because the destination was international. So it was, unless you use them on package, there was no real use of them to be used in Canada. But they were beautiful, beautiful stamp. Uh, the back of each stamp card included the highlights from the star player career, individual statistic in the list of trophies, the initial trophies that they have won. And if you look at the Bobby Orr, for example, or the Doug Harvey or Tim Horton, you'll see quite a long nomenclature of various trophies and honors that they have. The production quantity of each stamp card was 125,000, so not very large. And the stamp cards, by the way, were not included into the annual album or the quarterly pack of 2014. So that made them a bit more difficult to find than the subsequent series. The next series were Okay, this is an example of how they were available, like they were available, as I said, in pack of six. That's an actual pack, unopened pack. And one interesting thing is that on that pack, there was a note that uh, there is one in six pack, oh, sorry, a 1 in 40 pack may contain an exclusive autographed souvenir sheet. So that got my attention, and I started to buy boxes of those things and looking for autograph stamps. And took me a while to find the first one, and then the second one, and then I said, okay, how difficult would be to go after all of them? It was a journey, quite an extensive journey, and now I I arrived, I reached my destination. I thought it was a good time to share those images because they are not seen very often. So eventually we see that. The next series was 2015, The Great Goaltender. At that time, the rate that Canada Post used was the USA rate, the $1.80. So they were a bit cheaper to purchase. Uh, the player that were included were the famous goaltender, the Ken Dryden, Tony Esposito, Johnny Bauer, Gump Worsley, Bonnie Parent, and Martin Brother. Most of us have just figured by the color of our hair, we probably all saw those people play, and we knew those people when they were playing. Most of them are no longer with us by now. Uh, this was the first year that those souvenir sheets were included into the quarterly pack. So at least if you have a bit of purchasing the quarterly pack, you would be able to see those particular stamps. Here is a sample of the display that I have. That it came in a box, and if you open the cover of the box, that shows you that display here with the hockey card stamps, and it contained 10 packs of six in a box. And that's how that's how essentially they were delivered. Those were available at some postal outlet, but not at all postal outlet, because just a box like that, for example, with 100 stamp of sorry, with six stamp with 60 stamp of $80 was almost $90 just for a pack. So not all postal outlet could afford the many of those display to show at their location. For example, in Ottawa, I had to go to a downtown post office in order to get those packages because they were not available into the local one here in Orleans. So it was limited. The next one, the 2016, they showed the Great Canadian Forward. Again, the value was still the USA rate of $1.80. And those pictures, what they call the Great Forward, were Sidney Crosby, who still plays. I hope you're going to play tomorrow. Phil Esposito, Guy Lafleur, Steve Haverman from Detroit, Mark Messier, and Darren Sittler. The famous record holder of 11 points in one game. I remember seeing that game a long time ago. And those were included into the pack, and this is an example of the quarterly pack for those particular stamp. And just to give an example, that quarterly pack cost was $44. Given what's in there, I tested last year, for example, there was a merchant here in Ottawa that was selling a whole bunch of those quarterly pack at a discount rate, a 20% discount. So I thought, well, maybe it's an opportunity to buy a couple of the 2017 third quarter, but they were all missing from his inventory. So somebody went before me and picked up this particular quarterly pack. The 2017 were the Legends and the Stanley Cup. So those were essentially the great legend we all heard about: Maurice Richard, Jean Béliveau, Gordie Howe, Bobby Orr, Wayne Gretzky, and Mario Lemieux. And same thing here. On some of those quarterly pack also included autograph, but Maurice Richard was not there could not provide autograph because he was deceased, the same as Jean Béliveau, and Gordie Howe. But Gretzky, Lemieux, and Bobby Orr all sign autograph some of those cards. And I'm going to talk next a bit more on those. So here is the complete autograph collection. I'm aware of at least two other philatelists that have completed that collection, and you probably understand why. Here are the original 6 defensemen. Out of the 6 defensemen, 4 participated to the program. As you could see, Bobby Orr, Red Kelly, Pierre Pilote, and Harry Howell. The quantity was 500 of each for the Howell, Pilote, and Kelly, and 1,000 for Bobby Orr. So that gives you an idea of the quantity. So that's quite scarce to find those things. When it comes to the great goaltender, here they are. Johnny Bower. Most of you in Toronto know very well. You see here, there were no masks those days. Tony Esposito with the Blackhawks, and also eventually the Canadian, Bernie Parent, and Martin Brodeur. Just want to see a few things on those. You probably notice all those cards have a special hologram logo here that essentially is from Canada Post. The reason why it is important is that once in a while you'll see those cards like I would think the Johnny Bower, the Pierre Pilote, there are a couple of other ones that are autographed that could be available at a reduced price, but they are not the authentic Canada Post issue. They have to have the holograph, which is embedded into the stamp. So that's a proof of authenticity. The other thing too is that while the Esposito issue was only 400, the Martin Brodeur was only 100. So you can imagine when you got all those people looking at that. That's the one that is the one that cost me most. That was the most difficult. Took me 8 years to find one, and I had to beg the owner to sell it to me. But give you an idea is that those things here probably go for between 150 and 200 on the market, general on eBay. Sometimes a bit more expensive. But this one here currently is people are offered to over $2,000, and none are available at this price. The next one, excuse me, are the 2016 series. Those are great one too. Like I saw all those players play at one time or another. Sidney Crosby, Guy Lafleur, Phil Esposito, and Mark Messier. Great players. Crosby was only 100 issued. Same thing, ever since I got my Sidney Crosby that I found into one of the pack. So I was lucky. I've refused offer. There's probably half a dozen offer that people want to buy this Crosby because that's the only one missing in the collection. But this is a real nice card to have. And finally, the last series, the hockey greats are Darryl Sittler and Azerman are part of the previous page. I just run out of room on the previous page, but on the Stanley Cup and the great one, Mario Lemieux and Bobby Orr. And again, you see that the quantity issue for Mario Lemieux is only 500. For Bobby Orr is 2,000. So, and it is so obvious when you look at what's offered on eBay, for example, or from some of the dealer. I know that Bill Longley, and there's a dealer in Vancouver that put them up for sale. The most frequent that you see is Bobby Orr. Like that's the last one also. And as you could see, it's 4 times more frequent than the other. So that's essentially is the collection of that particular era. The next series I want to talk is a much less known series. This is the All-Star New Year, starting in 2000. So from 2000 to 2005, Canada Post wanted to honor the All-Star players. So they announced essentially they had a series of hockey cards that I'm not sure if I can show you, but they were kind of large. They were 3x4 format. And for 3 years, they issued those things, and they're not selling for much, like $20 for a pack of 6, for example. But they were made of plastic, and they did not fit any of the size or the hobby will be looking for. Keep in mind that a large part of the audience for those stamp cards are the stamp collectors, like for the sport card market. And the format was about half an inch too high and half an inch too wide. So they were not very popular. So in 2003, they decided that they will reprint them in a different format that is exactly the same format of the standard sports card, like a hockey card or baseball card or whatever. And they had a program with Pacific Trading, which was a company that prints sports cards, the NHL and NHL Players Association, and they reprinted all the first 24 cards that were issued. They did that in 2003. And again, on those one, they identified that there will be 100, like there were thousands of those printed, but there will be 25 each of Béliveau, Lafleur, Hall, and Glenn Hall that will be randomly inserted into packs. I'm going to come out to this a bit later. But the cards also were thin sealed and wrapped into a random insert that is formed into pre-printed metallic wrapper with 6 to a pack. I have example of those into the original pack in boxes, and that's how I started that collection, by opening those boxes and packs. Looking at how they look like, this is a sample of how those cards look like. As you could see, this is the 47, the 48 series. You see the stamps, like we're all familiar with that particular stamp that was issued. Every year they issued a sheet of 6 stamps, and the composition of those stamp cards were a stamp inserted into a sealed plastic part and a picture of the player on the side, and put that into a card with all the statistics in the back of the card. The sample I have here shows you like the Denis Potvin, the Bobby Hall. This is Sil Apps, Howie Moran, Gilles Morel, etc. And this was the announcement of Canada Post at the time, funding that all 24 players from Canada Post, 4 years, series of all-star stamp will be put together. And that's a sample of the pack that those things were involved. And the mention here. And unless you're essentially receive the monthly collector's magazine from Canada Post, and you look at the back page, that's where you find this information. So it was not very well publicized. And it shows that, a total of 100 cards autographed by Béliveau, Lafleur, Hall have been randomly inserted. And the price for a pack of 6 was $10 at the time. But, when I first introduced that about a year ago to a group in Quebec City at one of the meeting, a lot of people were not even aware that those things exist. So that generated a lot of interesting questions. Then in 2004, they changed the supplier, and they deal with Pacific Trading Card. It's a company from Washington State in the US. And that was the new wrapper at the time for the 2004 cards. And they indicated that 1 in 10 pack, they were a pack of 10, and there was 1 in 40 pack could contain an autograph card. Same thing in 2005. You see the wrapper here, the sealed wrapper here for the 2005. So that's how they look. If you ever want to know what's in there, you see those things. They are stamp cards with Canada Post stamps. Here is a better example of what I tried to describe before. It's the original card. As you see, you got a Jean Béliveau here with the 47 stamps here. That was all encapsulated inside those plastic sheets. So it was a bit too large to be attractive for the market. And you could see here all the detail about Canada Post and the sponsorship and who is involved in there, and the statistic of the player. So after 24 cards, well, for 4 years, after 2000 to 2003, they decided to change the format to this format. And that became the new format. Just a bit of statistics on those cards. There were 60,000 packs produced of 24 different cards. So there were a total of 15,000 of every card, every player. So that's a quantity that is out there. But keep in mind that probably the biggest market and the biggest owner of those things are probably the sport cards market, not the philatelist market. I mentioned the autograph were essentially the odd of finding a Béliveau or a Lafleur autograph from that first series is a 1 in 600 pack. So 1 per 600 pack. So that's very, very rare. 2004, that was the 49 cents series. There were a total of 300 autograph of each of the 6 players. The odds were 1 per 60 stamp cards to find an autograph. And with the inventory that I had, the box I had, I found 2 of them. So I was lucky to be able to find them in the pack. In total, there were 90,000 of each card that were produced. So that's a lot more inventory. 2005 maintained the same odds, but the number of autograph production is unknown. I haven't been able to find information because some of this information is probably available at Library Archive Canada, but it's too young to be available. So I think you need some special authorization in order to go into the record of Canada Post that they still have because of privacy or something like that. The autograph stamp card that I've seen or at the time at February 1st, because they are difficult to find. I haven't seen anyone from the first series. I have a Béliveau one, but I cannot confirm if its authenticity. The signature is authentic, but whether or not it was the one that were published by Canada Post or it was an aftermarket card that was signed by Béliveau. Maybe next time I go to Toronto, I'll submit it through the VS 8000. Maybe they can help me there. Of the 49-cent series, I will show you my copy of the Brad Park, Johnny Bauer, and Mill Schmidt. That's I was able to find those. And I finally completed not long ago the full series of the 50 cents. So I got the autograph of all those 6 players. And here is how things look like the original one. This is the Jean Béliveau one from 2003. It is signed with his number, so typical to how Canada Post did them. Most of them showed the name of the player on the card and the number, but because the stamp is encapsulated, that one was signed on top of the plastic. So that's why I think it's probably an aftermarket autograph. Still a nice card to have, and now that Jean Béliveau no longer signs anything, so I think this is probably good to keep, but I have no proof that that's the way they were issued or they were intended by Canada Post. There's no record I could see. The next one is that the image of the 2004 series. What's particular about those to justify the authenticity is the fact that there were only 300 of each of those cards, and they are numbered. Like the Brad Park here is number 231 of 300. The one from Mill Schmidt is number 241, and the one from Johnny Bauer is number 173. I found one on eBay for a reasonable price a few months ago from Ted Lindsay, but there is no number here. So to me, that's an indication that somebody that had the original, that had the card, was able to get Ted Lindsay to sign it, because it's not numbered, it's not part of the numbered card. So that's an assumption, but I call that an aftermarket signature. Still a nice one to have. The next one, the 2005, the 50 cents image, are all here, and all of those are, the signature is very consistent. So obviously Canada Post had those people on contract to go and sign by hand every of those sheets. And one of the reasons why each of those signature was made individually, it was not the pen that they use in the White House, where you could have an automatic signature. With Canada Post, you're not allowed to do that. So they were actually signed by the player, because I compare 4 different one, Harry Richard, and they all have slightly difference into the formation of the 0 or the 1, or even how the first letter of each of an Henry is shown. So obviously, those subtle differences, to me, are a confirmation that they were unique signature. They were not electronic pen signature. The other 2 from that series are the Brian Trottier and Grant Fuhr. And through the assistance of Arnie Jensen, he has one of the sheet with autograph. Like, it shows like those are the sheet that you could buy at the post office that contain the stamp and the image of the player, the stamp and the image of the player. That's how they were supplied through Canada Post. And you could see here the signature on each of those. And the signature resembled very much the one that was on the stamp. So this shows that probably all those stamps here were from one of those sheets. So you get the player, they all sign the sheet, like 200 or 300 of them. And then they separate them, put them into the insert, the resemblance of each of those signatures. Just take Johnny Busick, for example. Look how it looks like with the 9 below. You look at the actual stamp. Doesn't have the 9, but still the Johnny Busick, exactly the same signature at pretty much the same location. Same thing if you look at Alan Stanley, for example. You see Alan Stanley here, how he signs them. So that one is not it belongs to Arnie Johnson. And one day I will continue to see if you want to part with this sheet to complete my collection. Another thing that was interesting is that to show how Canada Post were kind of at the peak into various marketing, is that in that season they also issued frames, like they were almost like a hand painted on a special not tissue, but almost a cloth. They printed or they painted the picture, and they have them signed by the player. All of the 6 from the 50-cent series are available. I have 4 of them. I'm only going to show you one, but that's how they came from. They came in a package. They were for sale at $90 each. Each of them was numbered. There were only 300 of them, and you got all the certificate of authenticity of those things. So again, demonstration that Canada Post probably had a marketing department to market their product that we haven't seen in a long time from Canada Post. It's not a complaint, it's just I guess, an observation. One other thing that I just want to share with you is that through the process, there were also some interesting things that were discovered. Here is a card of Guy Lafleur, you see, but when you look inside, that's not Guy Lafleur. This is Howie Morenz. So, and this one here is how the Howie Morenz looks like. It's supposed to be the picture of Howie Morenz, but because it was red somehow, the machine or the people inserted the wrong card. They were supposed to insert Henry Richard, that they put Howie Morenz. Same thing here. See Red Kelly. See, Red Kelly is a left-handed player, and you see Tim Horton as the picture, while it should really be Red Kelly and Red Kelly with the Red Kelly picture. There were 2 others that have been identified. Like those are mine, but there were 2 others that were identified that I believe our colleague from the States, Charles Evermore, has one also, a different player. And there's another copy that was sold through Alpine Philately a few years ago. But those are interesting. They're not, I know they don't fit with the autograph stamp, but for those who are collecting those things in addition to the autograph, this is an interesting feature, probably quite rare. It's a mix-up during fabrication. And I guess this being said is that uh, when I presented that, I had a lot of questions, and I started to get people who listened to the first presentation to send me a message when they noticed, like, oh, I think this one is for sale, or I know somebody that has one, and this way I was able to continue to acquire, to accumulate in my collection. For example, just through tell and from people sending me note, I was able to obtain Henri Richard, Brian Trottier, Grant Fuhr in the last year, and also the Béliveau card. So that was good. I keep building up the inventory of the mix-up stamp cards. So far, 4 are known or discovered. Uh, Continue to record aftermarket. Like I go to auction house, and when I see some of those that look like aftermarket, especially the one that have the autograph but are not numbered, or it's obviously that the signature is on top as opposed to embedded into the stamp, uh, I try to note of them. But that's something that becomes available from time to time if you know what you're looking for. Finally, I guess develop a listing of collateral autograph material, like the one that Arnie shared with me today, for example, is a good example that yeah, I saw a picture of people signing, like a player, Bob, I think it was Bobby All signing those autographs. Somebody took a picture when he was doing this, but uh, there's other collateral material perhaps that is available. And also, uh, at one time, Canada Post offer laminated single print, like they have a series of all the 6.50 together that were all autographed, and they were selling those for quite expensive. I think it was $79 per strip at the time, and they made 300. I never saw one, but it was in the promotion material from Canada Post. So hopefully one day I'll be able to see one. So essentially, my claim to those that are interested, if you see some of that material and you don't know what to do with it, or you don't know if it's useful, just remember my email there, and let me know, and I'll be glad to look at that because it's been working.